We question our daily position, seeking answers and definitions. Get the queries off your chest with Ahkam SOS.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome to Ahkam SOS, the show that discusses Islamic duties and practices. MashaAllah, we're here on Monday night, and hopefully over the weekend most of you would have been celebrating the greatest of Eids, Eid al-Ghadir, inshallah. From Imam Hussein TV, from Ahkam SOS, myself and the Sheikh, we'd like to congratulate everyone on this auspicious occasion. Also, the Imam of our time, may Allah hasten his parents, on this wonderful, wonderful day where Amir al-Mu'mineen was, in a way, he was not just only administered, but was, finally proven to be the greatest wali and to be the guardian of our religion after Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wa alayhi. Inshallah, you guys enjoyed yourselves. You had loads of sweets and so forth and celebrated correctly. But inshallah, we come back now to our discussion on Ahkam with myself, Mohsin, Shah, and Sheikh Ali Maash. Assalamu alaikum, Sheikh.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.
How are you this evening?
Alhamdulillah.
MashaAllah. Good, congratulations on the Eid. I hope you had a very, very good Eid al-Ghadir. Is there anything you'd like to say about Eid al-Ghadir before we begin our conversation?
Let me start then with the couple of hadith with this regard. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين وصلى الله على محمد وآله الطيبين الطاهرين ولعنة الله على أعدائهم أجمعين. الحمد لله الذي جعلنا من المتمسكين بولاية علي أمير المؤمنين سلام الله عليهم أجمعين وأهل بيته الطاهرين. We thank Allah Azza wa Jal. Praise be to Allah that He made us to be amongst those who attach themselves to the wilayah of Imam Ali alayhi salam and his pure household. It's a great blessing. It's one of the best, I think, or the best ni'mah that Allah has given to us and blessed us is the wilayah of Ali alayhi salam. Nothing can be on top of this great ni'mah. Yes. Of course, Tawheedullah Azza wa Jal, the prophethood, the usul al-din, but the imamah comes as a access, as a means of accepting the tawheed and the prophethood. Without the imamah, no prophethood accepted as a aqidah or the tawheed without the imamah. Even if I believe in Allah's oneness, that nothing is like Him, I believe in all prophets, but if I reject Ali alayhi salam as not being my Khalifa, my leader, my Imam, then that belief in Allah and His Prophet and Messenger has no value in the sight of Allah Azza wa Jal on the judgment. So we praise Allah Azza wa Jal that we've been given this great blessing and sustenance. This is a rizq by itself, that we believe in this great Imam and his purified household. There's two statements I would like to mention from Bihar al-Anwar. A statement from Sheikh al-Saduq. He states in his book Al-Khisal, narrated by the Alam Majlisi in his Bihar al-Anwar, he says that on the day of Ghadir, this great and blessed day did not let any excuse for anybody. This day brought all the hujjah, the evidence, the proof on everyone. And as you know, the hadith of the Ghadir is mutawatir, it's concurrent, it's well-known, famous hadith within the Shia and the non-Shia. All mention this hadith of Ghadir. So there's no excuse. And then he states that when Fatima alayhi salam spoke to Ansar when the Fadak was taken from her, the land of Fadak was usurped from her by Abu Bakr, she said that, why didn't you give bay'ah to Ali alayhi salam? You just ignored Ali alayhi salam and you went and you gave bay'ah to somebody else, i.e. Abu Bakr. So they said that if Ali was actually there on the bay'ah day, for example, we could have given bay'ah to him. But we actually gave bay'ah to Abu Bakr because he came forward and he offered himself and promoted himself, and he became now the Khalifa. Khalas, we just gave the bay'ah. It's like saying, Khalas, we have the king of Saudi now, he became the king.
Yeah.
Khalas, we have to surrender. That's it. The tyrant of Iraq now, he's governing the Iraq. Khalas, we have to surrender. They have surrendered to the tyrants. They have surrendered to the batil.
Yes.
That is the great sin of the people who promoted, who paved the way for the zalim. Till today. Fatima al-Zahra salamullah alayha, in response, she said, وَهَلْ تَرَكَ أَبِي, and did my father left يوم غدير, on the day of Ghadir Khum, لأحد عذرة, did he left any excuse for anybody on the day of Ghadir? There's no excuse. It was very clear and frank and apparent that this individual, this great man, Ali alayhi salam, is the Khalifa after his departure.
Yes.
The second narration, also in Bihar al-Anwar, this narration is about Imam Ali alayhi salam when he was chosen with other 5 people. When Umar was almost on his deathbed, he was leaving this world, and he made this shura of consultation. He brought 6 people, including Ali alayhi salam, to choose one of those 6 to be the Khalifa. In other words, he tried to appoint somebody within the 6 people. So where is the shura of the Muslims, of the consensus of the Muslims as they had? So he came with this idea, or bid'ah, let's say. Where is in Islam, in Quran, in Hadith, that if you want to choose a Khalifa or leader after the death of the other Khalifa, so-called Khalifa, to bring 6 people and choose one of them amongst them? Where is it in Islam? Where is it in Quran? If it's shura, because they say وَأَمْرُهُمْ شُورَى بَيْنَهُمْ, they bring this ayah Qur'aniyah, that the shura is where the consensus of the Muslims to choose the one who deserves to be the Khalifa. Where is the shura? Only 6 people are allowed to be chosen. And who's going to choose them? It's between them. So it's a chaos. It's out of control, out of even the rule of reason. على كل حال. So when Umar was on his deathbed, he made this shura of within 6 people. The first was Ali alayhi salam, and then Uthman ibn Affan, Talha, Zubair, Sa'd ibn Abi Waqqas, and Abdul Rahman ibn Auf. That one of them to be the Khalifa. Of course, there was a deception in this, the idea of the shura. They played the game, على كل حال, to deprive and push Ali away from the Khilafah. على كل حال. We don't go through this details about this shura. Ali alayhi salam, of course, when he was chosen to be with them, he said, let me speak out, let me say my words. So he started to say by saying, Unshidukum Allah, I plead to Allah by you. I plead to Allah Azza wa Jal. فأنشدكم بالله هل فيكم أحد, is there anyone amongst you? قال له رسول الله صلى الله عليه وآله, that the Prophet said to him, any one of you? Did anyone that the Prophet صلى الله عليه وآله chose him to be in this position? مقالته يوم غدير خم, that he said to him these words on the day of Ghadir. Was it you, Uthman? Was it you, Abdul Rahman ibn Auf? Was it you, or was it me, Ali? من كنت مولاه فعلي مولاه اللهم والي من والاه وعادي من عاداه غيري. Is there anyone else that the Prophet said to him these words, that whoever I'm the master, Ali is his master, and Allah be with the one who is with him and go against with the one who go against him? That's the wilaya and bara. Tawalla tabarra. They all said Allahumma la. No, it's only Ali. He never said to us or any one of us. He never chose us. Yes, this for Ali alayhi salam. It's very clear. Man kuntum mawla fa Ali mawla. Mawla is the leader, the imam, the vicegerent, and so forth. So sadly, they've rejected this. Although they've heard this and they confessed to the Imam alayhi salam in that gathering, they rejected this. So we ask Allah Azza wa Jal initially to drive away His rahmah and mercy from those who took and usurped the Khilafah from Imam Ali alayhi salam and kept Ahl Bayt away from their positions. And may Allah punish them in the Akhirah. And may Allah guide those who are ignorant to the right path, those who have been deceived and lied on about the Khilafah and so forth,
History.
to be guided towards the Ahl Bayt alayhim salams, to the right path, inshaAllah.
Inshallah.
And may Allah bless us with His ziyarah in Najaf, inshaAllah,
Inshallah.
of the Imam and his shafa'ah in the Akhirah.
Inshallah. Well said, Sheikh. Well said. Excellent. I'm just reminding the viewers that this is a live show. We do take in all your questions. If you have a question you'd like to ask in regards to Islamic Ahkam, you can send us it via the WhatsApp. You can send it to us via the email address, ahkamsos@imamhussein3.tv. Alternatively, give us a call here live in the studio, and me and the Sheikh will be more than happy to discuss your question. Sheikhna, bismillah, with the first question. If I have an animal, halal animal, sheep, beef, chicken, or so forth, let's say with beef, it has been slaughtered in the Shariah way, okay? And now the meat obviously has gone to the butcher, has been cut up and so forth. If there's some blood in that meat, can we call that meat tahir, or is that meat najis?
After slaughtering the animal in the halal method and halal way, let's say sheep, lamb, beef, and so on, if the normal amount of blood in a gushes away and out of the body of the animal, the remaining blood, the leftover blood inside the body, will be tahir. Most important is to that allow it to gush the blood out, and then whatever is left inside the body would be tahir. That's fine.
Okay. Sheikhna, if there's some moisture on the wall, let's say we're in an alleyway, it's raining, there's some moisture on the wall, and there's also some najasa somewhere lower, like someone might have urinated or something like that, a dog or something like that. So, is that wall tahir or is that wall najis?
The lower part of the wall would be najis, of course, but wouldn't affect the upper part unless you see the signs of najasa on it.
Okay.
Otherwise, only the part in which is visible or najis, and know it's najis, then becomes najis.
Another thing with tahara and najasa, Sheikhna, is that when we go to the laundrette, people go in to wash their clothes and so forth. Different people are using, the washing machine and taking out wet clothes, putting in dirty wet clothes and so forth. Are we allowed as Muslims to go to these laundrettes and use the facilities? Can we say that these machines are tahir?
We have a ruling or a qa'ida or a base, as they say, of qawa'id al-usul and fiqh, which says everything is tahir until you're certain that it is being najis. كل شيء لك طاهر حتى تعلم أنه نجس بعينه. Certainty in being this item najis. Then you can avoid it.
What about the dryers? Because, fine, we haven't seen anything of that, but, the dryer, there's 100% those clothes are wet, and they touch the handle, they touch, the instructions and all the buttons on the manual and so forth. Is it the same ruling for them?
Exactly the same basis, that everything is tahir until you're definitely sure that it's najis. Then you have to avoid it.
Okay.
But as long as you haven't seen with your eyes, it remains tahir.
I see.
And that's the beauty of the Islamic fiqh and sharia, that eases the situations and life for people.
Awesome. Sheikh, a message here from the email. Assalamu alaikum, great show. I have a question in regards to blood. In laboratories, blood constituents are separated from each other. When are the constituents said to be tahir?
You see, we have something called, one of the criterion of the tahara, that something known as istihala or transformation. So let's say I have a najis wood became najis by, let's say, blood and so forth, and somebody burns this wood, or let's say a dead dog, for example, and somebody burn this dead dog,
becomes ash.
ash. It transformed from something to something else. The title, the subject changed to ash, for example.
Yes.
This is one of the forms of tahara. To purify something, you can use this way, for example. To purify this wood, najis wood, is to burn it and make it as ash, and so forth. So if there's a transformation with this regard istihala, then that should be fine.
I see, excellent. Sheikh, now, when we look at water, you and I, we know, well, you and I, you've studied it more longer than I have. But in the Hawza, we look at water, we look at its tahara, najasa, we look at its size, kur, kaleel. Also, we look at mudaf and mutlaq, whether it's mixed or if it's pure. The water that comes out of our tap, Sheikh, is treated. A lot of governments, there's a lot of countries that they treat the water. So, can we consider this water to be tahir? Can we consider it to be mutlaq, pure water?
Well, if they come from, let's say, sewage water and they treat it, so originally it was najis, but they add process of chemicals and so forth until you have this pure water. If it doesn't carry the previous label of being sewage water or najis water, now it's pure water, mutlaq water, as you mentioned. That's number one. Number two, that it is not less than kor, it's more than kor. Then of course that should be fine. There's no objection to use that water.
Sheikh, with water, a lot of us perform wudu. When is it best to perform mustahab wudu? When can we perform mustahab wudu?
It is mustahab in overall to be with the wudu at all time. As soon as you wake up from your bed in the morning, you start your day with the wudu. Before everything, you do the wudu and then you start your day. And then even if you go to break your wudu, in other words, to the loo, for example, you do the wudu again, tajdeed al-wudu, to stay always in the state of tahara. But in overall, it is mustahab to perform the wudu in order to pray, for example, for the salat al-mayyit, the deceased prayer, to visit the cemetery, the graveyard, mosques and the shrines of Ahlul Bayt alayhim as-salam, to be in tahara. You go inside the shrine of Imam Hussein salamullah alayhi with purity, with tahara, very important. There are of course a'mal, dua, salat, ziyarah and so forth. So you have to be in purity in those places. Also to carry the Holy Quran, mustahab to be in state of wudu. Writing the Holy Quran, for example, or touching the margins of the Holy Quran, to be in state of wudu, mustahab. And of course, at the end of the day, before you go to sleep, mustahab to be in the state of tahara, of wudu, that you remain in purity all night when you are in wudu. So being in the state of wudu is very important. It brings many bounties and sustenance and rizq and so forth.
Sheikh, I got a question here from the WhatsApp, and I'll keep it short. Can someone wear silk? If it is known that it's forbidden to wear silk, can one wear silk if it is mixed with something, as like, a jumper that's mixed with wool and silk? What about accessories such as neckties and also handkerchiefs? According to His Eminence the Grand Ayatollah Sayyid Sistani,
the Sayyid mentions that it is not forbidden to wear a tie or necktie, as you mentioned.
Is that pure silk
in both.
Oh, both. Okay, so
in both scenarios you mentioned.
Okay,
so that's fine.
If it's mixed or if it's pure.
Yeah,
if it's a tie,
for the tie, be careful.
It's an accessory, it's not
for the tie, yeah. But as for the items that is mixed with other material, it's not pure silk.
Yes.
Then the Sayyid said it's permissible to wear. So it depends on what type of clothing or accessories you're wearing.
MashaAllah. I mean, Sheikh, sticking with His Eminence the Grand Ayatollah Sayyid Sistani, what does he say as a minimum requirement for a beard?
The Sayyid mentions that shaving the beard is haram in Islam. It's forbidden. We have narrations with this regard. There are strong narrations from the Prophet ﷺ for those who shave their beard, clean shave. Ala kulli hal, we have to be careful with our ahkam I shouldn't be practicing all the ahkam properly and then leave. When I actually want to implement all Allah's ahkam, I want to be faithful, I want to be pious, I have to make sure that I apply and implement all the ahkam. I don't leave some and do some as I like and wish and desire. So it's important that even for the bird, as today it became fashion now, football players, celebrities are now, they have birds. So it's not something difficult or hard to actually grow the bird. So the Sayyid mentions that it's haram as on obligatory precaution, as ihtiyat wujubi, and he says that this includes the hair that grows on the sides of on the face of the cheeks and the neck. This is actually, this actually is allowed for the hair which is grown on the cheeks and on the neck is allowed to be removed.
Mm-hmm.
But the sides of the bird, this is the side. This is wajib to be kept all the way down.
So in a way, you're allowed to groom and shape up the beard.
Yeah.
Underneath, clean it around and
Yeah.
so forth.
On the cheeks and on the cheeks,
but
and
not the
neck.
actual beard itself.
Not actually the beard.
You're not
Yeah.
allowed to remove that.
Exactly, they have to be kept as a obligatory precaution, according to His Eminent Ayatollah Sistani. And he says that the minimum requirement for the one to actually be able to be called this individual has beard is according to the customary or the norm, to the urf. So if they see him, they say he has beard, he has lihya, for example. And he says, for example, that even for example, trim to a bird size 3, for example. This is, let's say, I don't say minimum, but at least the one should have the bird to this level at least.
Okay.
على كل حال. But as I've said, it all goes back to the norm, to the urf. Otherwise, the one who shaves, let's say, with number 1, trims with number 1, is a mushkil.
Mm-hmm.
Almost he's shaved. So
I see.
we have to be careful with.
So what I've understood is you're not allowed to really have a stubbly beard. It has to have some sort of length.
Exactly. Yeah.
And then take it from there, inshallah. Sheikh, another question here from the email. I'm a single girl who has not been approached, even by a single suitor, in spite of having a good family and observing hijab thoroughly. Due to this, I've been teased by strangers, acquaintances, and even my own brothers. I'm in extreme torment and agony on account of this issue. I have done tawassul to the imams, recited Salat al-Ashura and Salat al-Hujjah. No, Salat al-Hujjah, that's the Tahajjud prayers, Hajat, or Salat al-Hajat. But I have not achieved any result yet. Please guide me. I am a muqallid of Ayatollah Wahid Khurasani. So according to Sheikh Wahid, just the sister's asking for some help. What does Sheikh Wahid suggest for her?
Well, His Eminence says that probably the prayers have been granted, but their moment of fulfillment maybe in future time, not now. Allah Azza wa Jal is wise. He knows when to give the hajj to this mu'min. So we shouldn't actually lose hope in Allah Azza wa Jal. وَلَا تَقْنَطُوا مِنْ رَحْمَةِ اللَّهِ. That's what the Sheikh says. That we have to have hope in Allah Azza wa Jal. Let's have some patience and wait and see what happens in the near future. And then he gives a recommendation that you can do some a'mal in this regard to ease in the situation. And he would also say that your prayers, your ziyarat of Ashura, other acts in which you did in order to achieve your goal will be rewarded. So you won't lose your a'mal. Although you've prayed, you did dua, inshallah will get all the rewards. But your hajj inshallah will be fulfilled inshallah in your future. And of course you shouldn't neglect your wajibat, because sometimes the one who reach the stage that he might not pray or fast because he didn't get his hajj, for example. That's actually shaitan's deception. So the one should be careful about it. So try to stick with the ad'iyah, stick with the wajib, avoid the haram, and may Allah Azza wa Jal fulfill your need very soon, inshallah.
Ahsant. Inshallah, we pray for all those who are single, inshallah, that they are met with good suitors, inshallah, suitors of the wilayah of Amir al-Mu'mineen, inshallah. Sheikhna, question in from the WhatsApp. My father passed away 10 days ago due to the COVID in the hospital. He did not get ghusl because of that. Although we admitted him because of brain stroke and he was COVID negative when admitted, but ultimately hospital workers and doctors played a game and killed my father and said COVID positive. One of the doctors involved is Shi'i. Please share this through your channel so that nobody dies of ignorance. My main question is in regards to the ghusl. To the brother or sister that sent this in, we're really, really touched and upset about your father. Inshallah, we will definitely get Fatiha read for your father. So the main question was in regards to the ghusl not being performed because of COVID-19. Is this an acceptable excuse for not to perform ghusl on an individual, on a mayyit?
In overall, our ulama would emphasize on the fact that the rituals of the deceased must be performed. It's wajib, from ghusl, from kafan, from the hanut, the salah of the mayyit, the burial, everything must be implemented. It's wajib. But if there isn't, there are restrictions, there are problems, they can't actually do the ghusl, the kafan. Even some ulama say that if they can't do the kafan because of the COVID-19, they can actually put the kafan on the plastic bag in which he's covered. This person's covered. So they have to do the minimum they can. Otherwise, they have to bury it with just a salah, for example. And of course, we've mentioned about the situations happening in hospitals. There's intentions in which to cause, as I've said, in some countries, they remove the ventilator or the oxygen from the elderly and they give it to the youngest ones, and they cause the death to the elderly, soon. So yes, we are aware of the situations. We've spoke about it. Sadly, it seems to be that there are evil intentions with this regard. And may Allah, cure and heal those who are in this situation, inshallah.
Of all those who have sadly passed away during this, COVID time, as well, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala grant them Jannah, inshallah. Sheikh, the final question for this evening from the WhatsApp as well. 1 second. Is it true that COVID death is a death of a martyr's death? As one of the Maulanas has said to me, since my father did not receive the ghusl, please reply to me. I highly appreciate that. So those who die from COVID-19 because they're not getting the Islamic rights as with the ghusl and so forth, do they die the death of martyrs?
You see, I've read something on some of the news pages on the internet that one of the scholars issued a statement that those who work in hospitals, the health workers, doctors, who they try their best and die because of their duty towards the humanity, combating the virus, try to save people's lives, they may get the reward of the shaheed if they die. The health workers. I haven't heard anything about just a normal deaths, out of this virus. But let me give glad tidings to the brother and others who have lost their loved ones in this situation. A hadith from the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and we end the show inshallah with this hadith. He says that man mata, the one who dies, ala hubb ali Muhammad, with the love of Ali Muhammad, mata shahidan. He dies as a martyr. The one who dies with the hubb, with the love of Muhammad Ali Muhammad, he dies as a martyr. So inshallah, our deceased ones, those who have lost their lives due to any reason, Allah may reward them with the reward of the shaheed, inshallah, because their love to Muhammad Ali Muhammad salamu alayhi.
Thank you very much, Sheikh. Now, thank you to all those joining us on this show of Ahkam SOS. Sad news is that on Wednesday will be our final show for this season, inshallah. Please join us on Wednesday for our final show before we break up for what is to be the Muharram and Arba'een season. Until then, thank you for joining us. Please keep sending in your questions. Send it via the WhatsApp, the email, or to give us a call. And inshallah, we'll see you on Wednesday for our final episode. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah wa barakatuh.
We question our daily position, seeking answers and definitions. Get the queries off your chest with Ahkam SOS.